the Golden Derby Show. That's Jess.
And that's Sasha.
And we are live. We certainly hope we are live in the Adobe Radio studios, back on a Monday per the usual. It is perhaps after hours. Perhaps you are in your 90s, your gym jams, whatever it is that you wear to relax. I wear stretchy pants.
I sleep in the nude.
You do. This is true. So maybe you're naked right now. And that's a different show. But we are live on idobi Radio every Monday per the usual. We are in the idobi Radio studios. Find us everywhere at Cool Nerd Weed Show. Just Google us. We shall be found. We have a YouTube that we have been very carefully curating. Our Instagram is there. And we're very we are on it all the time. We're responsive. If you DM us, we will absolutely have a convo with you. So don't feel free to reach out, but you may have to search for us because of the whole weed thing.
Yeah, you actually have to type out Cool Nerd Weed Show completely.
Yeah.
And then hit send. And then we'll pop up.
Yes.
And then follow us and love us.
Yes, love us. We love you. We love you forever and ever, and we'll be here forever and ever. Thank you, Idobi, for giving us a home and a safe space to come and to be. Idobi has been there for us since the very get and has always been a safe place for us to go, even in the most uncertainest of times. We've always had Idobi Radio there for us, so we beyond appreciate that from them. And while you're getting some Cool Nerd Weed Show on, check out the rest of idobi Radio because we're fucking awesome. It's just a fact. I'll make the rules. We're great. And there's a ton of great content on idobi Radio and the other two stations that the Idobi network holds. And what else can I think? I think that's pretty much it as far as the the clerical work goes.
Dotting all the I's, crossing your T's.
Before we came in, we smoked Trainwreck.
No, it was.
We did not. No, we smoked Durban.
It was Durban Poison.
Trainwreck. Yeah.
It was No Till King's Durban Poison.
Okay, TBH, it didn't taste like Durban Poison to me. I don't know why. I like No Till Kings a lot.
Honestly, it was so sticky.
Maybe that was why.
And it needed to breathe. I've had that one for a while, but it's been sealed. But I would let it breathe. Yeah,
I would agree. And No Till Kings is good if you're out in LA and you find them. They're one of the good ones. I feel like they're very consistent. If you are now, a lot of people I've noticed are tea breaking. I have noticed that. It's not I first took my first tea break in a long time this year by going to Japan. I mean, it was just, I had to. I didn't like it so much, and I don't want to do it again. And I do feel like since then, I've been, smoking pretty average. You know how much I get weed. I feel like it's no more, no less,
You're right on track with your normal consumption habits.
Yeah.
I do monitor you.
Well, you get my weed. So whenever I re-up, exactly when I'm doing it.
I'm building so many points.
You're welcome. But that's me, and I smoke a ton of weed. Now, I've seen on the TikToks that people really are taking tea breaks, or at least limiting themselves. Our very good buddy Fish, who does Gone Fishkin here on idobi Radio and is just an all-around amazing dude. He produced or helped us with our first show ever on idobi. So he was here from the get as well. And he is planning on going on a 30-day tea break. But going to consume CBN and CBD because as I was typing to him please say you're going to smoke CBD. He picked up some CBD gummies and CBNs, and I was it will save you because it saved me, that's for sure.
It's the CBN and the CBD will help you sleep when you're going through that tea break.
Yeah,
and the CBDs and the CBNs aren't going to foul up your your tea break anyway.
No, you'll still be teeing.
So, Fish was there for our very first show at Idobi, and he gave birth to our baby show.
He birthed. He did. Aww.
It was like our show was like a little concept, and it was incubating.
Yeah, like growing, getting its nutrients from the world, and then it was time, and it was hopefully not a painful labor.
I think Fish enjoyed.
Yeah, we brought a ton of weed that night.
We did. We used to like have the studio completely covered. Like every surface had some sort of product on it.
Yes. I remember that first show too. You were just like, you just kept on taking stuff out of your bag and like and you were just like throwing it on the table in the studio, and it was like a ton of stuff. We like didn't smoke in the studio though. We were never allowed to do that, so we just like had it
for props.
But we did. We always do smoke a pretty generous amount of weed, and we smoked our Papa Fish out for the first show. So we wish Fish a very happy and prosperous and healthy tea break. Many find it that they only want to smoke weed on the occasionals, and that's okay. That's okay. The nerds ain't gonna judge you. We are here to facilitate a healthy relationship with weed. That's why we exist. Yes, are we, or me? You smoke a lot of weed, but I smoke a lot of weed. Like, if you were to boil it down, I would, at this point, at this juncture, I think in life, I would beat you. Probably.
I would say that you could probably smoke me under the table. If there was like a contest, I would tap out and you would laugh at me and keep going.
Well, no, I wouldn't.
Not in a mean way.
No, I'd be like, I win. Yes, it is something that I recommend. People do is take a little TT break. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. I mean, if you feel like you're not getting the effects that are intended from weed, and maybe sometimes, I mean, it has happened to me where I've had anxiety base level, and then weed will totally make it worse. I'm not adverse to that, or immune. So I'm not immune to that. Is what I mean.
I think I was starting to feel that after I was relieved of my duty at my other shop. In that interim, I was running out of edible samples, so I started taking less. Also, like, TBH, I was eating a lot of edibles during the day to cope with the scenarios.
Right.
So I don't need to do that now because everything's fucking a lot more chill. So I'm just eating edibles at night, and they're hitting me a lot harder.
Sure. If you I saw somebody online, I always forget her name. She's on TikTok, but she said she's not going to smoke until sunset. I mean, it's summer, so sun isn't setting till 9 o'clock, and so I feel like that was probably a little short-sighted. But bless her heart, the days are getting shorter. So that I feel like that's sometimes a good, and I only used to do that just because like I didn't want to get in trouble with weed on me at work, but every opportunity I could, I would bring weed to me. But when I worked in an office that wasn't weed related, most of the time I didn't have weed, so I wasn't smoking during the day. It was a nighttime activity. So yeah, no harm, no foul. We'll miss you if you're going on a tea break. We loves you. We're here for you if you're going on a tea break, and we'll be here for you with whatever you need. If it's a lit joint, we got that. If it's an edible, we got that. If it's a big old hug, we got that. And now, onto some good news.
The good news of the day is that tomorrow, August 6th, 2024,
the year of our
Tommy Bong.
Our Tommy Bong.
Ohio will Ohio will start its adult use cannabis sales.
Freaking finally. Ohio, you can go back a bunch of shows, do a little searchy on the Cool Nerd Weed Show past, because we have been hoping for this moment and praying that it would happen for you ASAP since the inception of your bill getting voted in. We were like, when's it going to... And it was shaky.
It was.
We were scared.
We were. The powers that be did not want Ohio to have its legal cannabis. The people want it, obviously.
Of course they do.
But there's always some politicians that were trying to roll it back immediately before it even started. But the good news is...
They heard us.
They
listened to our show.
And they listened. They got on board the Cool Nerd Weed Show.
Yeah.
And sales start tomorrow.
Woo!
10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ohio Standard Time.
This is wonderful. We are going to break down the beginner time lingo. It is overwhelming as frick when a thing goes legal in your state, and you have been canna-curious for so long, and it's been so outlawed and stigmatized that you kind of don't know where to start. We're gonna do a little freshy fresh. We've done this before. We do it almost every time a state goes recreational or adult use. We try to provide some beginner links so that you don't feel like when you walk in you're completely overwhelmed by all the choices. But I do also want to say your local bud tender should be a trustworthy, good source. Now, they're just opening, so there might be some glitches there, some things to figure out. So your local bud tender will be the person that you're going to go to for any questions. But until then, we've got you.
Yeah, so the first shops that are actually opening in Ohio are converting to both their existing medicinal cannabis shops. So they're making the switch. So hopefully they have some I'm sure they have educated bud tenders there.
Yeah.
So
I just mean like procedurally, like
for sure.
Like there's always like an influx, like they run out of weed or something. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Like
so
there's a curve no matter what with any. I don't think any state has gone through. I mean, it happened to us. I'm sure it happened in Colorado. I'm sure it happens everywhere. It's just a switch. It's just like the POS system goes down or just something. And I don't wish that upon anybody. But if it happens, don't be like put off or frustrated by the weed world. They're trying to figure it out too, and they'll get there very fast, and they'll be ready to give you your educations and your first legal weeds.
So there's probably going to be a long line.
Sure, expect that. Yes.
I'm thinking that there's probably somebody waiting out there right now.
Yeah, I hope so.
Camped out. I'm sure there's people camped out waiting. So like you said, the first people you're going to see, you're probably going to run into the first person you're going to see is probably security guard or receptionist.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to want to have a valid ID.
Yes, at all times, always be bringing your ID. A-B, B-I-D. And that is honestly like the most important thing. Like finding out if they're cash only or if they take cards, all that stuff, you can do that by calling them or visiting their website. But without fail, every dispensary needs your a valid ID. It can be from a different country. It could be from a different state, right?
Oh, yeah. Whatever, any government issued ID, driver's license, passport, state ID card, military ID.
Yes.
Prison ID.
They still do the military discount?
Most do. If they don't and you're a veteran, I would shop somewhere else.
Yes, indeed. Always ask if you're a veteran.
Yeah,
Thank you for your service, and ask for some discounted weed, because most shops will do it. In Ohio, I reckon they have something in place already with medical use. I don't think I realized that. I'm so dumb. I didn't realize that they were converting all of the already medicinal use places. So they'll have a leg up. It's not like all of them are opening.
Yeah, there's product. There's product in place. There's like educated bud tenders.
So what products, what can we call the products that
let's see
that we're gonna see?
So you're gonna ask your bud tender. You're gonna expect there's a few categories of products. So the first one and the most common is flower or buds or weed. Whatever you
that
know.
is what you know. That is what you've seen. That's what's on my shirt. Let's grow some trees. It is the weed flower. It is what you put in a pipe. You roll in a joint. You put in a bong, arenos, whatever you'd like. That is what you will smoke.
Apparently, this is interesting. Apparently, under Ohio medical cannabis laws, that there is no combustible flower. So this will be the first time combustible flower will be available.
Oh my gosh.
In Ohio. That's
Ohioans. You lucky dogs. You're going to get to experience flower, a lot of you, for the first, that we know of on the record, the first time. Oh, that's I wish I was there for your face. Every one of you.
Everyone.
I do. That's great. That's great. I didn't know that apparently I didn't know a lot of things about this, but I did not know that they weren't allowed to combust flower under the medical program. So that's fucking sick nasty. Now you go get your flower. Go get your flower. Ask all of the questions. Find out all of the things about flower because it's the best. I'm so excited. And then what's next? What else can they use?
Let's see. The next sort of wildly popular way to consume cannabis is vaporizing. So you're going to have vaporizers, not vapes.
You know what a vape is. It is also used to vaporize nicotine. This will not have any of that in there. You will probably have many choices of vaporizers in front of you. This is something you feel very free to discuss with your bud tender. Honestly, I feel like a lot of my time as a bud tender was spent talking about vapes.
Yeah, flower is still number one, but barely hanging on. Vape is very close.
It's a half and half thing. I shouldn't say
but
mostly,
no,
but
seriously,
the first customer of the day was probably looking for.
Everybody that comes in the morning wants vapes.
Yes, yeah, or a gram or something. But yeah, vaporizing is very common. Worth trying. Portable, discreet, and usually higher concentrates. So just ask for what you think you want. Start low. Don't overwhelm yourself, and see what your options are.
Oh yeah, like you said, the vapes test really high. Mm-hmm. 70 to 90% THC.
So if this is your first time, smoking weed, and you want to try a vape, maybe ease into it.
Yeah, take 1 or 2 puffs.
Yeah.
See how you feel.
And that's what's great about the Ben and Jerry's is that you can take a hit, put it down, not touch it for. That's how I use my vape. I mean, now I've been a little bit oral fixation with it, but I would buy a vape and have it forever. So long it would explode in my freaking car because I would just transfer it around, take one hit, and be kind of high from it, and that would kind of carry me over when I was out and I couldn't smoke a joint or whatever. So that's how I feel like you want to dip your toe into vaping. Have it as a sometimes food, and then if you like it, work your way up so you don't blast yourself into oblivion with one hit of the Benjamin, and know that those shits the smoke comes out fast. In all vapes.
Yes. Yeah.
Every single vape, the smoke comes out fast. Just remember that. Have some water nearby. You've seen the videos, I'm sure. So what's the next? The
next wildly popular way to consume cannabis is in edible form.
You've probably heard of this too. Very old way to consume weed.
Everybody's, we always talked about the brownie.
Yep.
The old space cake. Yep. Well, cannabis is in every single food you could possibly think of. Mm-hmm. Mostly, the most common are gummies, chocolates, there's cookies. You've got savory treats
gummies
now.
It's funny. Brownies were always
the
go-to. Or brownies and cookies. Even like in the heyday, it was always something sweet like that.
Yeah.
Now that you think about it, it is so gummies. All gummies. It's nothing. Well, everything else. I feel like brownies and cookies are way second to.
Yeah, chocolate and cookies are further down, but gummies, there's like
They
so many
dominate.
different gummies.
Yeah, so you'll probably find a lot of gummies. If you're used to the traditional brownie, I'm not sure how they're doing it there. I'm sure we can find out, but for us, we had to dose. We had to start dosages. It had to be 10 milligrams. That has changed. I just took a 50 milligram RSO tab. That should be hitting me, shouldn't it?
Those metabolize a little bit slower than your regular
Cool.
so like towards the end of the show,
All right.
you'll be
I'm a little
You'll be
hungry.
feeling it.
Okay, great. So
Okay.
so those rules are we'll see what happens with you guys, but you'll probably find a gummy that has 10 milligrams in it or less, and you can dose it out that way for yourself so that you know how much you're intaking. And I think that that's probably a good idea if you're just dipping your toesies into weed.
Yeah, start slow. Start with
Always slow.
Yeah, you can't turn it off if you eat that whole bag.
And
of
I'll tell
edibles.
you will be okay. I promise you.
True.
Everybody is always okay, unless you have an adverse effect. Then take note of that and adjust. But always low and slow. Always. And it may not jive with you when you take an edible for the first time. You may feel a little like it was a boat you couldn't control or something. Don't let that turn you off completely. Give it a break. Because I really believe in edibles for sleep and pain. I really, really do. Like, I am a big advocate of them for sleep and pain. And I know that when you take even a 1-to-1, which is THC to CBDs, you'll probably find some CBD products in your travels. Like, I know the first time taking an edible is always a journey, even if it's 5 milligrams. 10 milligrams is a lot if you don't take edibles. It's a lot. So take half of that. Take a bite. You will feel something. If you really don't ever smoke or take edibles, half of 5 milligrams you'll experience relief, and you can work your tolerance up from there.
At the same time, you may have been consuming edibles from wherever you got edibles before they were legal in Ohio. So with that being said, you don't necessarily know the dosage. So a lot of times people come in and they think that their trap gummy, they were eating 50 milligrams at a time.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't really know. It may or may not have been 50 milligrams.
Right.
So you can trust your dosage on your legal edibles.
For sure. And just don't assume you can take more than I still have to I still have to remember that. Like, I'll still take too many edibles and be like, damn, I wish I didn't do that. Like, it literally happens to everybody. So don't feel bad or don't feel embarrassed. Please don't feel embarrassed if you get too high the first time you take edibles. I'm begging you, because there's nothing to be embarrassed about at all. Your body is adjusting and relief will come. And maybe you'll figure out it's not for you. But, like, for our purposes, for our show, for our advocacy, I say give it a whirl and give it a chance. If it doesn't work the first time, breathe, drink some water, take a few days, maybe take a smaller little nibby, like for sleep, like that and some melatonin, or that and some CBN if you can find it. Like, oh yes, like those sorts of supplemental ways to use weed, I think, is a really good way to like get into it. And then you'll find that you're like, oh well, maybe I can smoke a joint, or have a puff of a joint, or maybe I could take another hit of the Benjamin and not feel like I'm going to pass out. Like, your body will, your natural endocannabinoid system will begin to, maybe the RSO is kicking in.
Oh,
what's the next one?
The next one is tinctures.
What's a tincture?
Tincture is they're more traditional medicines, a liquid that you would have put underneath your tongue.
You've seen a tincture before.
Usually, I think at this point, we used to have them. It was cannabis, and it was in high testing alcohol.
Yes,
was the vessel, but I believe now it's more than likely your tinctures are going to be MCT oil or coconut oil based.
Unless it's like for your pets, and then maybe one day you'll get a fish oil one that reeks of fish.
Or olive oil.
Yes, olive oil. It's an oil-based thing now. MCT oil is really the most common one. TS is right. That you'll see, very digestible. You'll take a cannabis tincture, much like you'll take an edible. And tinctures work like traditional tinctures. They're absorbed in a quick way in your mouth, and you let them do their thing. Very medicinal qualities. Very you need to maybe take a breath, take a chill, ground yourself, take a little bit of tincture. It hits kind of immediately, and you're like, okay, I can do this thing that I didn't want to do, or whatever. That's what I use them for. Tinctures are very mental health for me.
Tinctures are, immediate relief, almost as fast as combustible or smoking cannabis.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing, slow and low. Please. I once overdid it on a tincture and was high for 6 days.
You can add tinctures to your smoothies or to
very easy to add to food.
Cup of tea.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love putting tinctures in my tea. Love. If it's oil, it's gonna get oily, but it's awesome. It's the best to drink your tea with a tincture. So what's next?
Let's see. Topicals, lotions, massage oils, muscle salves.
Yes. So you'll hopefully see some topicals. They're usually CBD rich. They're for pain. They work. Try them. If you will not feel the psychoactive effect that ingesting weed gives you.
It's true. Even if there's THC in your topicals, you're not going to get high.
No.
You're going to feel relief in your muscles.
And that
your
will
joints.
make you feel different, but you putting a topical CBD on will not make you feel high. It will not.
Relief is...
You know what I saw on TikTok? People were putting RSO in their belly button.
I saw that too.
Is that a thing?
I was it probably is. I saw it. Give it a shot. I'll grab one of those syringes tomorrow.
I'm interested. Yes, please.
We'll put RSO in our belly buttons and go live. See what happens.
We've done weirder things. So what's the last one that people can expect?
Concentrates, waxes, diamonds, maybe shatter.
Yes, these are all extractions.
Live resin, live rosin.
This is kind of weed, 201 concentrates. I feel like it's not entry level, because concentrates you're gonna have to know how to smoke them. You may have a device or an apparatus that you already have or something, and that'll be cool. But it is a learning curve for concentrates, so don't feel overwhelmed by concentrates. But if you're curious, definitely dabble and have your bud tender get you set up and make sure you have everything you need. You probably won't be able to get your butane there if you want to start traditionally or your, stuff of that nature. But more often than not, a lot of dispensaries are carrying Puffcos, and any smoke shop will have that available to you. So if you wanna go into concentrates, if this is your beginning time, don't be afraid. But dabbing is it's heavyweight. It's big lifting.
It is. It's an advanced move. Ohio. Okay, so Ohio actually is allowing concentrates.
Yeah.
So that's great. There's a lot of places where you can't get concentrates, so you could still get legal cannabis.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Ohio's jumping right in.
They are, and they're gonna do the right thing. Do you see anything about equity? Just curious.
I don't think we have mentioned equity at all regarding Ohio cannabis.
They are donating percentages to different substance abuse and addiction funds, mental health and addiction services. That is where some of the taxes will go. The Cannabis Social Equity and Jobs Fund. Woo!
Oh, yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. Ohio.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
There it is. Ohio. Social equity. Thank you, Ohio.
We're so happy for you. We love you. We're going to take a break. Go for it.
Oh, there's some weird stuff as far as like measurements of how you're going to buy your cannabis.
Do you want to talk about that? Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
We're not going to take a break. We're going to take a break in 1 second.
Okay. So
This is important.
Traditionally, in the traditional market and every other market I've ever been to, cannabis comes in like gram or eighth, which is 3.5 grams, or quarters, which is 7 grams, or full ounces, 28 and a half grams. Traditionally, but in the Ohio medicinal market, they sold tenths, which is 2.8 grams, and 2/10, which is 5.6 grams. And they're not really sure if they're going to stick with those odd measurements.
Well, I don't know why that is. I mean, whatever. 2.8 seems... I wonder if they did like research and they were like, this is what the average consumer like, because that just fucks with my head. I mean, we learn like it also goes back to like street math. Like this is how I know
your metric
ABCs.
system.
Yeah, my metric system is weed, and so that's fine. But I feel like it's just 5.6. Hey, can I get a 5.6?
Oh man, if somebody comes in and asks me for a 5.6,
what do you even call it?
It's well, it was an eighth because it was actually an eighth of an ounce.
Ounce.
Okay, so can I get a tenth?
A tenth.
2/10?
2/10.
Oh man, I don't even know who came up with that.
Okay, like definitely making it more difficult than if you're in Ohio and you're doing this, let us know. I don't even know like what I want to know. I just feel like it's weird.
How do you order?
Also, like if you're in Ohio, definitely let us know how your experience is going. Do you love it? Are you obsessed? Have you had issues with it? What like is it good? Is it bad? DM us, Cool Nerd Weed Show, because I want to know it all. I want to know it all. If you're a bud tender there, definitely DM us at Cool Nerd Weed Show. We have questions for you that we have already laid out. And we do like to get to know our bud tenders. So fucking hell yeah, Ohio. Right?
Yeah, Ohio. You can have a whole lot of cannabis. You can have 2.5 ounces, up to 15 grams of concentrate or edibles.
Wow.
So Ohio's going for it.
Good for you, Ohio. Enjoy your weed. And oh my God, I can't wait to see how much you're going to smoke. You're going to love it. You're going to love it for so long. And I'm so afraid to turn off anything in the studio that the mics are hot and we're live, and I couldn't cough because I was afraid I'd cough in the middle of the break. But we're back, and it's all going to be okay. And we have been. I just played the fish patriotic intro.
One nation under bong.
He says a bunch of really good shit in there. And we have been political the past few shows. The time is now 8:40 on August 5th on the LA side of the world, 2024, the year of our Tommy Bong. It's where we are in time. If you're listening in the future, I really hope everything's okay. If you're listening in the past, how did you do that? So, Kamala Harris is our presumptive nominee at this moment, going up against Donald Trump.
Yes.
Kamala Harris, we questioned Kamala Harris during her vice presidency. Vice President Kamala Harris, I should say. I realized last show I barely said vice president. Our vice president, Madam Vice President. Show some respect. And that's what I think we need to start doing, is showing some respect on Kamala's name. Because, and I will admit, I am guilty. I kind of didn't realize how little, like, she was a critic, yes, of the cannabis movement, but her hand in prohibition. She didn't have one. You know, she was following the law when she was district attorney. She was doing what she was supposed to do by letter of the law. And her criticisms, they sucked. It sucked. But she has, for sure, turned around. And it's clear that she's turned around. She's been vocal about it.
100%. And really, at the bottom line is that Vice President Kamala Harris is the first presidential candidate to actually back cannabis legalization and reform.
Right. Everybody has every politician, every person. Sometimes your opinion, you know, as long as your opinions aren't deeply rooted in a toxic belief, and the war on drugs certainly is. And I am sure that those times where she kind of like fell into the Venn diagram of weed and the war on drugs and her role in it, I have to believe, because it seems like she'll own up to it and kind of say, you know, what really did happen when she was in California and what she did do. It's actually not as bad as we thought, right?
Yeah, when you have all the facts and numbers,
right?
And she was a prosecutor, like the top cop prosecutor in San Francisco. We all know this. These are facts.
These are facts. You can't escape the facts.
But there were very few, if any, like minor possessions or actual like convictions regarding cannabis. Now, we're not apologizing for anything that Kamala Harris has done regarding cannabis or her stance.
No, it sucked.
It did.
It really did.
But evolution is happening, and public opinion has changed in that time as well.
Right.
Regarding cannabis and reform and the rules and regulations around cannabis.
Right.
So, you know, you've all DM'd us. You've commented.
You sure did. And this is kind of like our moment to like address that stuff, right? Like, so like not our moment. Like, this is just what we're taking to like talk about it. And it does sound like we're like brushing it aside. I totally am not. You can listen to these past shows. We're angry. And
totally.
We don't love it. And when they were elected together, we have many shows where I was screaming at the top of my lungs, Kamala, come to California, come to your home state, cut some fucking ribbons, talk about equity, talk about criminal reform, talk about the antiquated war on drugs and how you actually had a hand in ending that out here in, not ending that, in helping us advance in that with your making weed recreation, helping all of that stuff that you helped in the state. You did that. Like, and she didn't. And that really bothered me when she was vice president. It really did. It bothered me that there was no weed speak, really, other than the little sprinkles we got, like at the end of the year. It would be like, Joe Biden's like talking about it, you know, like, and it was always, and that was great too. We never wanted to be critical of that. But, and yes, again, when Kamala Harris was at the top of her game, I imagine weed and prosecuting weed. I'm just trying to put myself in her shoes. Is all.
You know, at that time,
it's hard to say it was a different time, but yes, at that time.
At that time, like, there was, cannabis had sort of been decriminalized, had been medical, and there was like raging meth problem, crack cocaine, all of those things were happening. Cannabis was kind of low down on the priority list.
She wasn't in the minority though. Nobody wanted it at that time. Most of the state didn't want it, by the way. It wasn't just the government. The actual state, the voters were like, no, thank you. So
California did reject.
They did. In like
at least once.
2010.
Yes.
So, and that's when she was in her days. And and she was part of that. She was part of that. And as far as like overseeing a system that puts people away for criminalization of weed, John Oliver gave a good stat that I don't recall off the top of my head, but the actual number of people that like she had under her rule that went to jail for like just like a pickup on weed is extremely like low. It's like 2. It's like it's really low. But that we all know that like the war on drugs is bigger than that, and she did have a moment where she existed at the same time that existed. But it's not like she was like a tyrant when it came to weed. And I'm not taking away from the experiences of everybody who experienced badness under Kamala. But I do want to point out that she is the first person to outwardly, the first nomination to be president, to grab that nomination, to outwardly say, weed is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. To paraphrase,
I don't feel like because of what she was before, I would rather not take away from what she is now. And as vice president, sure, could we have seen more? I don't know what the fuck's going on over there. Clearly, a lot. And I can't. I am sure that there was stuff going on that we don't know about. Far be it from me to assume the government keeps secret from us, but I believe that they do. Conspiracy theory, I know. It's Cool Nerd Weed Show, not the QAnon Nerd Weed Show. But they do, and I have to reckon there were other things. But we did get the bones. We did get the little, nuggets of, oh, we're still talking about it. Don't worry. It's still on the table.
It's still in the conversation between
throughout her vice presidency. And that was good for us. At the time, we weren't giving her a lot of credit, but
no, but we still have some hope, and we are and always will be critical of our politicians and the powers that be. That's what we do. What we're always going to do.
It's the whole reason we started the show, because we knew there would be some weird shiz going on in the world, and we were going to have to be there to talk about it. And this just so happens to be a thing where it changed for the gooder. And having a president who is also, all of the vice presidents who listened to our last show, they are all pro-weed in their own way. They love it. It's great. So this will be the first time you have 2 people who are running for the highest office in this country that are on the same page about something that was prohibited, off limits, and we're making a leap here, and I think that should be noted and like honored and something that we think about, of course. And we are critical of cops as well. We're critical. We're critical when we're supposed to be critical. Marijuana legislation and where this country is with weed is something to be critical of. So I don't take back anything, and I never ever will. But I am saying that my tunage is a little changed on how I feel that Kamala dealt and is dealing with weed. Like I'm snaps, I'm ready, I'm all for it. That's how I feel.
Yeah, now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time for cannabis reform, and Kamala Harris is on board. She has championed the reform. It's in the conversation, and I believe by the time Joe Biden finishes his term, that cannabis, there will be some movement on the
for sure
descheduling.
Yeah, I think he'll want it off of, like, he won't want, because if all goes well, Kamala will win. And she will inherit that the kind of that won't be on her plate. She'll be able to mold that to what it needs to be. He can do it. He can say, this is what we're doing. We're rescheduling. Obviously, we want it off. Beggars can't be choosers, which sounds terrible, but we're trying to keep the PMA here. And she'll be able to inherit a nice little weed being legal moment.
Yes, and when Kamala Harris is president,
Yes,
of these United States of cannabis, then she can take it to the next step, whatever that may be.
Our point is, go out and vote. Some places like Florida, cannabis is on the ballot, right? Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And
yes,
a lot
it
of
is.
and look at Ohio. Look at Ohio. Look at Ohio. Ohio's a great example of the legalization of weed and how great it can be. I'm ready to see what can be done. And this is, I don't know, if you know us, we're not like, oh, beautiful. Like, we're very, the DMs had me like tripping a little bit because I was like, come on, you know us. We're very critical. It's our thing. We're very cranky.
Of everything.
Literally everything. Not just weed related. Like, we're like the two puppets in the Muppets. Stadler and
Stanton
Waldorf.
yeah.
Stanton and Waldorf. We are literally those two. Like, that's not an exaggeration. We are cynical. We try our hardest to keep the PMA, but we are we're cranky old people. And that's what you love about us, and that's what we love about us. And I don't want anybody to think I'm wearing an American flag with like whatever. I'm critical when necessary, and I will be critical of Kamala when she's president. We know it's at stake, so the point is go vote. That is the point. Thank you for hanging out with us. Per the usual, Idobi Radio, you are a gem and a treasure and a treat. Please keep your buns on Idobi Radio forevermore. We only like get better with we're like the finest of wines. Please, if you are just dabbling into weed, feel so free to DM us, even though Instagram suppresses our content, and we're actually going to have extra content about that this week on Instagram, ironically, and YouTube. YouTube does not really; they don't. We have our podcast on YouTube and carefully curated clips, and the whole show winds up there. TS is Cecil B. Stoned. Is that what you call yourself?
Oliver B.
Cecil
Stone.
Yeah, Oliver B. Stone. In your editing suite, which I told the whole company about accidentally. I was like, TS edits it in his editing suite. I was like, I thought it was cute, and you were like, what the fuck? But you do. And of course, our Adobe Radio staff, thank you for existing and giving us this beautiful studio and helping us with our video. We have very talented people on this fucking staff. We fucking rule. And Ohio, smoke fucking 8 J's for me. Smoke 20 J's for TS. Don't get too high though, and don't drive at all, and don't be in your car at all. Don't be near it. I don't know what they're doing with the laws there. I don't know what is probable cause. Don't drive and smoke. Be safe. Smoke in your house or where it's legal. But smoke all the J's and the vapes. And
don't panic.
It's organic.